Hey, what's up guys? Today I am reacting to top 10 greatest CGI moments in Doctor Who history by WhoCulture. What an interesting topic this seems like. Just the other day I was listening to Mr. TARDIS reviews talking about the latest Doctor Who news, and that was very interesting. I'll talk about that towards the end of this video. And something also occurred to me the other day in relation to Doctor Who and CGI. The last three doctors, other than Ncuti Gatwa, the last three doctors kind of regenerated in a similar way where they all got zapped by like a beam, like a ray gun or something, you know what I mean? Like the 12th Doctor, he died by Cybermen blasting him in the back. The 13th Doctor died from that Quarux or whatever that thing is called, the Master's big space thing, that blasted her. That's what caused her to die. And then the 14th Doctor, he got zapped with the Toymaker's ray gun type thing. So yeah, that was an interesting thing that occurred to me. The last like three Doctors kind of got like zapped to death, kind of. So yeah, anyway, let's just jump right into this video. Let's go.
Many things out there that have better special effects than the WhoCulture editors,
What the fuck?
but Doctor Who at its best might be one of them. Yes, it's easy and often amusing to
Ooh,
point out
Rebel
the
Flesh.
less than stellar
One of my
examples of
favorites.
CGI used in Doctor Who's history, but that isn't to ignore the times when it has been executed phenomenally. The aim of good CGI is to not be noticed, but that also means they aren't often praised either. Now, of course, the vast majority of the classic era relied on practical effects to achieve these otherworldly creations. But as technology evolved, so too did Doctor Who. So when the 2005 revival came around, the creatives had a whole new wheelhouse to experiment with. From elaborate space
Aliens of London, that scene where the alien ship crashes like into Big Ben, that is such a on-the-nose 9/11 reference. It's absolutely insane.
ships to giant insects, the modern era of Doctor Who is full of incredible CGI moments that deserve a moment in the spotlight, away from the looming shadows of talking babies and sticky wheelie bins. I'm Ellie for WhoCulture.
I thought they were gonna say that Talking Babies was one of the best CGIs.
These are the greatest CGI moments.
The garbage
in
can
Doctor Who
too, that was
history.
kind of
Number
cheesy.
10, the TARDIS collapsing, Eve of the Daleks.
I did not watch Eve of the I did not watch Eve of the Dogs. I have seen, what's it called, Revolution of the Daleks? It's called one of those. The one where Captain Jack comes back. Captain Jack coming back was my favorite part about the episode. I wonder if Eve of the Daleks is worth watching.
While the
Interesting.
TARDIS interior has always been a practical set. By
Adventure in space and
2022,
time.
The CGI skills and technology available allowed for incredible sequences like the collapsing of the TARDIS control room in Eve of the Daleks. This
13th Doctor's TARDIS is kind of good. It's kind of underrated. I don't know if I prefer it to Ncuti Gatwa's TARDIS, even though that one's kind of bigger, more spacious. And this is the interesting thing too. When Ncuti Gatwa's TARDIS, or technically the 14th Doctor's TARDIS, as it is revealed, like, I first saw that on Twitter when it was revealed, and that's quite an interesting way to be exposed to a type of news like that, like a new TARDIS interior, bigger, looks like the classic 60s TARDIS, and they're showing a clip of David Tennant running around the thing, and you're watching that on your screen on Twitter. It's like, that was not as impactful as watching the behind-the-scenes Doctor Who Unleashed, where they were talking about building this new TARDIS, building it to look like the 60s model. Watching that behind the scenes, that was really the awe-inspiring moment, being like, whoa, look how they built this. That is what made you appreciate it more. So yeah, 13th Doctor's TARDIS seems cool.
moment looks fantastic, with the walls crackling and collapsing as Jodie Whittaker runs in slow motion through the chaos. The editing must also be commended for seamlessly cutting between the footage shot on the physical set and the sequence created in post-production. It blends together so well that it's impossible to tell where reality ends and the CGI begins. In the past, a scene calling for the collapsing of the TARDIS interior would probably have required the destruction of the physical set. Looking at you, the end of time part 2. And so to be able to achieve the complete implosion of the TARDIS without damaging a single round thing is both remarkable from a technical standpoint, but also from a practical one too. We all know Doctor Who loves to penny pinch.
I guess,
Gone are the days when the best substitute for the TARDIS set was hanging...
I know they pretty much literally kind of blew up the TARDIS in End of Time, practically. Did they do that for Twice Upon a Time. Was that... Did the TARDIS really explode and stuff? I don't think so. I think that was CGI.
Picking up a sheet and turning down the lights in the hope that no one noticed. How times have changed.
Cool.
Number 9. Giant Wasp, the Unicorn.
Really? That's one of the best?
Think about insect-like creatures.
I don't dislike Unicorn and the Wasp. I've heard some people hate it. But really? That's one of the best? I guess if you're comparing it to the Zarbi from Web Planet right here.
In the classic era of Doctor Who, it's difficult not to picture...
I like the Logopolis reference when they talked about blowing up the TARDIS. That had the TARDIS inside Logopolis had nothing to do with blowing up the TARDIS, but that was a interesting choice.
Likes of the Zarbi or the Wirren. Either blatantly obvious men in costumes or giant puppets made from pipe cleaners and paper mache. The modern era, however, had the luxury of CGI at its fingertips and aimed for more realistic creations. You might not remember it being this good in your head, but the giant wasp in Series 4's The Unicorn and the Wasp was incredibly accurate and believable despite its impossible size. It neither looked fake, nor did it look out of place in the scene. Now, creating an entirely new CGI
Planet of the Dead I used to like when I was a kid.
Freedom and artistic license in your design.
Okay,
so
Lazarus.
Create a believable image
I used to like that
existing creature requires an arguably greater level of skill. We know what a wasp looks like. We know how wasps make us feel. So
creeping me out.
It's important for this CGI version to accurately replicate that. The development of CGI technology opened up entirely new avenues for storytelling. Episodes like The Unicorn and the Wasp simply wouldn't have been possible with only practical effects available. The giant wasp would never have been believable or realistic as a man in a costume or a puppet on some string. Just ask the Web Planet. Number 8. Spaceship Fleet. The Pandorica opens.
That's a good one.
The Stonehenge speech is arguably one of Matt Smith's greatest.
Just the other day I was thinking about where story arcs in Doctor Who went wrong. Was the Pandorica probably the last great story arc that Doctor Who had? Potentially, you know? Yeah.
Moments as the 11th Doctor, and so it's only fitting that it also features some remarkable CGI to boot. You'd be forgiven for overlooking the alien spaceships when up against the epicness of the rest of the scene, but therein lies the secret.
I love this
Great
episode.
CGI blends into the scene without detracting or distracting from it. This moment is powerful. It highlights Eleven's intelligence and ingenuity.
Even previous other Doctors like 7th, 8th, I think even 6th Doctor have read this speech. Just because fans love it so much.
It would not have achieved these things.
I kind of want to listen to it after this.
He's giving a verbal spanking looked fake or comical or egregiously out of place. Instead, the vast expanse of CGI buzzing and whirring around Stonehenge elevates the scene.
Now that you think about it, this is kind of better than the CGI graphics we get in like Time of the Doctor. It's galactic, it's showing Trenzalore, all these different planets and ships, but this is quite a spectacle in comparison. I wonder if they'll talk... This is making me think, I wonder if they'll talk about a Parting of the Ways or Boomtown. Something about that makes me feel like that had really good CGI.
Emphasises the scale of the threat the Doctor faces. It's also worth noting the variety of ships on display. The scene calls for all of the Doctor's enemies to be assembled, and so there is great attention...
Let's see here. I was thinking the other day about Pandorica Opens, whether it had like previous monsters that were in the classic series. Because I was thinking the other day, like I was remembering the 11th Doctor era barely had many callbacks to the classic series at all. Like sometimes they would show like pictures of previous Doctors, remember? Other than that, they barely called back to the classic series. Yeah, these are just Roman soldiers, Jadoon, Santarans, Dalek Santarans, yeah.
Calls for all of the Doctor's enemies to be assembled, and so there is great attention to detail to ensure that an array of alien vessels are seen whizzing around their greatest foe. We can see Dalek ships, Sontaran ships, Jadoon ships, and even the Atraxi vessel from the 11th hour. The attention to continuity should be applauded. This is a level of realness and attentiveness that classic Who simply couldn't achieve, but with CGI, modern Who has excelled at world building like this.
The continuity,
where most wouldn't have even noticed. Number 7, the Pating, the Saranga.
I have not seen this episode.
No, this isn't actually a joke. While most Whovians have grown accustomed to seeing the Saranga conundrum appear on plenty of worst lists, it does have one saving grace, which could genuinely be considered great.
Let's hear about it.
Say what you will about the episode itself, but the Pating is one of the most convincing CGI creatures we've ever seen in Doctor Who. The early years of the modern era were still finding their feet when it came to CGI creatures. Cast your minds back to the likes of the Krillitane or the mighty Jaguar.
Oh yeah!
Hadrajasic Maxarodonpho.
Yes! Such good times, the Krillitane, the mighty Jagrafess of the holy... I've never said that name out loud. The mighty Jagrafess of the holy Maxagragan Roganfo. I've never said that name out loud.
Or the mighty Jagrafess of the holy Hadrajasic Maxarodonpho.
The mighty Jagrafess of the holy... What?
To the likes of the Krillitane, or the mighty Jagrafess of the holy Hadrajasic
Maxarodonpho.
The details Krillitane, or the mighty Jagrafess.
The mighty Jagrafess of the holy Hadrajasic. This is amazing. And Long Game isn't even that good of an episode, but it's still iconic. The mighty Jagrafess of the holy Hadrajasic Maxarodonpho.
Of the holy Hadrajasic Maxarodonpho. The detail was less defined and the movements were often janky and simplistic. By 2018, however, the skill and technology available was far more advanced. Just look at the detail on the Pating design. The texture of its skin, the shine.
Kind of more detailed than the adipose. I used to be a big fan of the adipose. I thought they were cool. Now I don't really care for that episode, Partners in Crime.
Any telltale signs that it's entirely computer generated. Well, you know, other than the fact that it's an alien, of course. And all this on a notoriously tight BBC budget. The Saranga Conundrum is never going to be a winning episode. And as much as it pains me to praise it, the Pating deserves to be recognised for the glorious feat of CGI it turned out to be.
Are they going to talk about Beat the Meat?
Colony
Ship World Enough in Time. Yeah, the Colony Ship had a big sense of scope. I was also thinking about how much I love World Enough in Time, and The Doctor Falls, potentially one of the last great Doctor Who episodes, and that was 2017. Crazy episode. Awesome episode. Loved it when it came out.
We've seen our fair share of spaceships in Doctor Who, but few are as impressive as the colony ship in World Enough in Time. The CGI for this behemoth is superb, specifically the opening shot, which really conveys the scale of the ship, with its many different floors and dizzying length. In the early years of the modern era, shots of computer-generated things were often shown very briefly, with lots of quick cuts made to avoid who had the Doctor Who budget. Now under the Disney umbrella, the possibilities were near endless in what could be achieved. While some uses of CGI left me baffled as to what the hell they were thinking, looking at you, corridor scene in Wild Blue Yonder, others left me equally baffled as to how on earth they managed.
Wild Blue Yonder is a little bit better than The Giggle. I feel like Wild Blue Yonder could have done more, but it does a good amount with its plot. I don't know if I like it more than The Giggle. The Giggle had the potential to be the best out of the three. Not sure. It was getting really interesting at some point.
To achieve it. This is absolutely the case with the Toymaker's final moment.
Oh, that's what they meant by
After the 14th and 15th Doctors defeat the Toymaker and then...
Yeah, the whole reason he bi-generated is so that two Doctors can just beat the Toymaker at his own game. It's like you could have thought of a way stronger, more interesting, more dynamic, more suspenseful ending of conflict. Yeah, like... But it was okay. It's fine. Whatever.
An epic game of catch, he suddenly begins to flatten and fold up before...
That's one of the best Doctor Who CGI moments. I thought that was just okay.
Falling into his boxed prison. What's so
I guess in the classic series it would look really funny if they tried it.
Impressive about this scene is how seamless the merging of real life and CGI is. Neil Patrick Harris is delivering dialogue throughout this transformation which blurs the lines even further. You cannot tell where the practical performance ends and the CGI begins. To this day, my mind is still boggled by this sequence. Full of the tongue-in-cheek charms
Love Neil Patrick Harris,
while also showcasing immense skill from the VFX team. This demonstration brought optimism for
Ruby
what
Rose is
Doctor
okay.
Who would look like moving forward. And then came along
Ruby Sunday, I think
a
is
few
her
months
name.
later.
Right.
Number 4, Planets in the Sky and the Dalek Invasion, The Stolen Earth. Who would look like the VFX team. This demonstration brought optimism for what Disney Doctor Who would look like moving forward. And then came along Space Babies a few months later.
Yeah.
Number 4, Planets in the Sky and the Dalek Invasion, The Stolen Earth.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Stolen Earth and Journey's End have so many strengths. Daleks,
they do.
Davros, double David Tennant, and every modern companion you can shake a Sonic at. And among all the epicness, there is also some powerful CGI. Firstly, we have these stunning visuals of the planets.
It's almost like one of those obvious connections that you don't make until you've seen both stories. But like, yeah, Stolen Earth Journey's End is basically a modern remix of Dalek Invasion of Earth. Dalek Invasion of Earth done in 2008, 2009. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. There are problems with it, like can feel too over dramatic, too much melodrama. But there's good things to appreciate about it. I don't really feel like rewatching it anytime soon. I feel like I've watched it enough times when I was a kid. You know.
Right from the off, as Rose stands in awe of the crazy plan the Daleks have concocted, this incredible image showed that the 2-part finale to Series 4 was going to be something special. The depth of the image, the colours, the way it blends into the live-action footage. It's beautiful, but also quite scary. It makes you wonder how on earth the Doctor is going to fix this one. And that's because the CGI here looks so damn believable. The arrival of the Dalek fleet also looks incredible. Entire CGI sequences from the perspective of space.
Imagine if in 1963 the showrunners would be like, by 2009 this would scare and entice a whole new generation of audiences 40, 50 years later with this skill, yes.
Dalek ships head towards Earth. A combination of live action and CGI as Rose walks down a London street, and the planets can be seen overhead as a Dalek ship emerges and attacks.
Badass.
Not once did this ever feel fake or unrealistic. It felt terrifying and terrifyingly real. And then we have the Medusa Cascade. Vibrant, vast, ethereal. It looks like an oil painting. This is a great improvement on even the CGI of the beginning of the modern era. How far they came in only the first few years, and how much further they go in the decade that followed. Number 3, 13's regeneration.
That's interesting to think about. 13's regeneration in the power of the Doctor. I just talked about 13 being blasted by the Master. Not my favorite Master Doctor face-off episode, Power of the Doctor, but it does have its strong points. The way it bought back Ace, the way it bought back previous companions by even towards the end of the episode, seeing Ian Chesterton, Joe Grant, Mel. Love that. I love when the show does that. Bringing back Mel, bringing back the Toymaker, bringing back David Tennant, bringing back Donna Nova. I love that the show did that. I really appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. Anyway, Power of the Doctor is overall pretty solid. But like, I was also thinking recently, like, Yaz saying goodbye to the 13th Doctor, like, that shit was sad. That kind of made me a little bit choked up, you know? And then, because, like, the 13th Doctor hanging out with the 15th Doctor like 5 months ago at the end of Reality War, that was a cool scene. I liked seeing 13 and 15 interact. I liked that. And 15 says to 13, I love you. And 13's like, I don't say things like that. And dude, yeah, it's like, you appreciate 15th Doctor's dynamic range of emotions that they were going for. And then it also is retroactively giving someone like me more empathy towards the Jodie Whittaker era. And it's like, I'm not a huge fan of the Whittaker era, but like seeing like you do wish that 13 said I love you to Yaz. That would have been great. Seeing 13 have to say goodbye to the Doctor in Power of the Doctor, that shit is sad. It's making me sad right now. Oh man, it's so interesting.
Power of the Doctor. The 13th Doctor's regeneration is by far the most visually stunning regeneration sequence in the history of Doctor Who.
That's a bold statement. The most visually stunning. I can see why they would say that. I like the regeneration. I don't know how I feel about her clothes changing with her, but that had happened with the 4th Doctor. I think it was with his boots, right? Was it his scarf? Something with the 4th to 5th Doctor regenerated with the 4th Doctor. I think it was the boots. But yeah, I don't like that the clothes changed with it. No, it is... Is it the most visually if you want to make that argument, it's a good regeneration. It is a good one. Simple. Solid. That's a lot to think about. That's a whole nother 20 to 30 minute video topic to think about.
The setting, the colours, the music, no notes.
Good point.
Beautiful.
Good
What's
point.
most impressive about the scene is that it was achieved almost entirely through CGI.
Oh, they weren't on location. Ooh, what the heck?
Aside from the TARDIS and Jodie Whittaker herself, everything we see is not really there. For obvious health and safety reasons, filming on the very edge of Durdle Door was not an option. But you would be forgiven for assuming that the sequence was shot on a similar clifftop location to double as the Jurassic Coast landmark. This wasn't the case, however.
Nice.
All of Jodie Whittaker's performing was filmed
Now I'm
in a
appreciating this
studio in
regeneration.
Cardiff, while the Doctor Who team of Jodie Whittaker's performing was filmed in a green screen studio in Cardiff, while the Doctor Who team were given permission to capture the aerial shots of Durdle Door to be added later in post-production.
Is this Wales?
So realistic was the CGI, in fact, that the Lulworth estate, private owners of Durdle Door, feared the scene would encourage fans to endanger themselves by attempting to reach the location. And they accused the BBC of dishonesty for not revealing the nature of the scene when requesting to film the drone shots. Not so great for the BBC, but one heck of a compliment to the VFX team. Health and safety issues aside, the final scene is a sight to behold. The fiery regeneration energy blends into the sunset over the ocean beautifully, and really was the perfect send-off for the bubbly, always optimistic 13th Doctor. Number 1, Mr. Ring-a-Ding, Lux.
Okay. Lux is number 1. Yeah, when I first saw Lux, I was like impressed. I was like, this is cinematic. This is good storytelling. Can't believe that was earlier this year. Like, what, February, right? So good. I know some people didn't like Lux. I haven't watched it for a second time. I have seen clips of it, like, after first time watching. I would watch it a second time just for the animation, yeah.
Lux brought something entirely new to Doctor Who. An impressive achievement for a show that's been running for over 60 years. Animation combined with live action isn't a new concept by any means, but the Disney dollars meant that it was now possible to
And the Doctor and Belinda felt like they had depth in the episode, yeah. Even literally when they're drawn in 2D.
Explore in the Whoniverse. And explore it they did. Mr. Ring-a-Ding wasn't a CGI creature with limited screen time and quick cuts in the edit to avoid noticing any inaccuracies in the VFX. He was a main character with plenty of dialogue and plenty of screen time. There was no room for error here, and the final result was remarkable. The attention to detail in the cartoon design, the seamless combination of Ncuti Gatwa and Varada Sethu's live-action performances with the added animation, the entire old-school cartoon aesthetic, complete with film grain and flicker. This episode and this character was a sight to behold. Sometimes the oldest tricks work the best, and that is certainly the case here. Mixing cartoons with live action is a technique as old as Doctor Who itself.
Yeah.
The development of computers and computer-generated imagery is a technique far easier to achieve nowadays, and one which delivered one of the strongest episodes of Season 2 and one of the greatest examples of CGI used in Doctor Who history. And that concludes our list. But if you think we missed an obvious...
So that's the end of the video.